UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. This is our weekly update. It's important because it's the 12th rung on the ladder of disclosure. Here it is, unprecedented UAP legislation. I will read this report and weigh in on it as I go. Special thanks to Ted Haley for alerting me to this. This is really important because it's the 12th rung on the ladder of disclosure. We'll get into this and so much more after a word from our trusted sponsor, BioTrust.
Thick skin is for more than just protecting yourself against hurtful words. It also keeps you looking young. That's because aging can cause our skin to go from thick and supple to thin and less elastic. This decline is aggravated due to the 10% drop in our body's natural collagen production every decade after the age of 20 years old. But folks, it doesn't have to be this way. Help fight wrinkles and sagging skin with multi-collagen. Multi-collagen works by supporting skin texture, hydration, and skin elasticity. It's made with the top 5 critically researched types of collagen that help your skin's natural ability to fight back against wrinkles and sagging skin. Tens of thousands of Americans have turned to it to help deliver nutrients back to their skin. Don't wait. Get a bag now by going to healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com, or simply click the link in the description box below. Not only will you save 51% during their winter special, but you'll also receive several free bonuses to help you get started on the path to taking full control of your health for the new year, 2023. The best part is you have 60 days, money back guarantee. Click the link and thank me later. All right, folks, Happy New Year. Please go to healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com.
That's right, folks. UFOs are real, burgeoning, and it's unprecedented UFO legislation. They call it UAP legislation because that's the sanitized version of it. Unidentified aerial phenomena. But really what these are just unidentified flying objects. It's all the same thing. It's just double speak to make it, because UFOs for decades, if you said UFO, you were immediately a conspiracy theorist, a tinfoil hat wearing guy. So let's get right into this. Unbeknownst to most Americans, and once again, thanks for Ted Haley for doing this, President Biden just signed into law far-reaching legislation that could soon confirm the existence of an alien presence on Earth. The relevant provisions incorporated into legislation needed to providing funding for the Department of Defense and the intelligence community enjoyed strong bipartisan support in both the House and the Senate. This is arguably the biggest story mainstream news organizations have ever failed to cover. Not a peep. Not a flipping peep. Why is that? This is the most important story, in my opinion, of 2022. And right on the cusp of 2023. Among other things, this new legislation. So this was actually, this report came out right around Christmas, this December 25th. All right. Number one, this legislation provides greatly enhanced authorities and resources for the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. They always give you that anagram, or ARROW. I mean, it's like, who are these people, right? All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. We're going to get to the bottom of this, Ted, in just a moment. But first, they work from our sponsor or something like that. So, which now reports directly to the leaders of the Defense Department and the intelligence community. The organization's unusual name is intended to clarify that its purview extends to anomalous objects regardless of their location, involving unidentified aerial phenomena from 1945 to the present. This is huge. This is huge. Notice 1945. When did Roswell happen? 1947. Look, folks, I've been covering this for decades. I'm the guy that's been flailing his arms for decades, warning of the coming great deception. That's what this is. And this is just another rung on the ladder of disclosure. Moving on, point number 2, this legislation mandates a review of all intelligent documents involving UAPs from 1945 to the present. Number 3, requires the DoD, DHS, and the IC to identify any non-disclosure agreements related to UAP and provide those to the new Aero Office. Directs the new Aero Office to develop a UAP science plan to assess the sometimes mysterious and mind-bending capabilities being reported, as well as a collection plan to leverage America's vast technical intelligence apparatus to determine where these objects are coming from and their capabilities and intent. Let me stop right there. The insiders know exactly who it is that they're dealing with. We've had reports of people working in deep underground military bases, or DUMBs. We actually showed this in our UFO series number 1, all right, where you can see that there's, all you see is my feet and the witness's feet, and he's telling that his friend's son is working in a deep underground military base with aliens, and he just blurted this thing out at a football game. They were watching a football game in their living room on the TV, and at the halftime, it was ever this man's son, who's, you know, in the service, obviously, blurted out, "Dad, I'm working with aliens in underground bases." Because people that experience this, you got to tell somebody. So he knew his dad was former OSS, forerunner of the CIA, so he trusted his father. But we've heard this from other people, and it's nothing new. Something is going on. So the people on the inside, they're already dealing with these entities. They know where they're from, but I digress. Let's move on. This aggressive UAP investigation using America's unparalleled intelligence capabilities is what I hope to accomplish. This, by the way, is Christopher Mellon writing this. Christopher Mellon was the third rung on the disclosure ladder after Luis Elizondo, which was the second rung on the disclosure ladder, on Tucker Carlson, looked right at the camera and stated that we have, the U.S. government has, in its possession metal from crashed UFOs, and they're testing the metal. Well, Chris Mellon comes on a few weeks later and says, yeah, we tested the metal. There's isotopic ratios not found on this Earth. What do you do with that? That's the third rung of the disclosure ladder. The fourth rung is when our government, a Pentagon leak, basically states that we have in our possession off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. Of course, that dovetails into what Bob Lazar was saying decades ago and past Poos Lake, Area S4, Area 51. It's all there. It's all coming out. Fifth rung on the ladder is the goofy report that happened a couple of years ago. What was it, a 9-page report about UFOs, stating out of the 144 UFO sightings, they couldn't figure out 143 of them. Okay, were unidentified. Let's move on. And maybe I'll go into the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. But anyway, so this aggressive UAP investigation using America's unparalleled intelligence capabilities is what I had hoped to accomplish when I bought the famous DoD UAP videos, the gimbal and the FLIR. That's off of the Navy jets, and Luis Elizondo to the New York Times and the Oversight Committee on Capitol Hill in December 2017. That's when the first rung on the ladder of disclosure happened, because on Tucker Carlson, he had Commander David Fravor, and they showed that that tic-tac shaped object, many of you remember that, and Fravor looks right in the camera when Tucker Carlson asks him a question. In your opinion, what do you think this was? And Fravor looks, right into the camera lens and goes, whatever this was not of this Earth. Commander David Fravor is a trained observer, F-18 pilot, Commander David Fravor. His wingman, which was a female, wing woman, also appeared with Commander David Fravor on 60 Minutes, talking about this encounter that they had with the tic-tac shaped object. So moving right along, recall that Mr. Elizondo had just resigned his position on the staff of Secretary of Defense in protest over DoD inaction in the face of innumerable violations of restricted DoD airspace by the UAP. So what he's saying here is these things fly with impunity. I've stated that for years. They fly over airports like the Chicago O'Hare Airport flap that happened a while back. And other places. In UFO Disclosure number 1, the first film, we sit down with a former air traffic controller who talks about This thing coming right into O'Hare. And it's all caught on radar, and before anyone can do anything, there it is, hovering right over the runway. I'm not making this stuff up. If you want to check that out, just you go to our streaming site, streaming.lamarzulli.net or lamarzulli.net, and order all 4. My gosh, what are you waiting for? We are the only Christian ministry that has 4 films on the burgeoning UFO phenomena, and we will tell you straight up what it is. We've got tons of witness testimonies. It's unbelievable. And then, of course, number 4 is the unnerving abduction phenomenon. By the way, that's number 10 on the rungs of the ladder. That was revealed by Brett Baer on Fox News, who stated on the record that some women who are taken aboard UFOs find themselves pregnant. Guess what? We tell you exactly what's happening. Karen and Angela were taken numerous times. Karen, especially from childhood. She was impregnated 3 times. They came and took the baby. Later on, she saw the hybrid entities, but they were short and stocky because it happened decades ago. There is a breeding program. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. Check out Daniel 2. Moving right along. Provide a secure process for anyone who has signed an official U.S. government secrecy agreement related to UAPs. What this basically says, so you can come in on the record to the DOD or whatever and tell your story without fear of retribution or prosecution. So these non-disclosure agreements, which all these people signed and they did, especially in Roswell. Are you kidding me? This goes back to 47 in the Roswell event. All of these people under fear of retribution, penalties, jail time, family members go missing in the desert, that type of thing. People buttoned up. Now, we have other people that have come on the record talking about that Roswell was certainly real. And you've heard me talk about this before. So I won't get into that here because I want to sort of cut to the chase. So this provision is intended to determine the veracity of longstanding allegations indicating that the U.S. government has recovered extraterrestrial technology and perhaps even extraterrestrial beings. The alleged UAP crash, let's just call it what it is, quit the doublespeak, UFO crash in 1947 near Roswell, New Mexico, offers the most famous example, but there are many others. I mean, there it is. There it is. It's going to come out. And when full disclosure, can you even imagine? They have video, guarantee, of the craft, the debris field, the bodies coming out of the ship. It's all there. They've got the video. Will they reveal it at some point in time? Maybe with this, they'll be forced to. Who are they? That's your shadow government, in my opinion. Moving right along. For example, in his new book, Trinity, The Best Kept Secret, the renowned writer, scientist, and venture capitalist Dr. Jacques Vallée surfaces a new case of alleged ET spacecraft recovery operations completed over the next 18 months. That process alone could validate claims the U.S. government has been concealing proof of an extraterrestrial presence near Earth. Because of time constraints, I'm just going to skip down to the highlighted parts. Even before this whistleblower legislation was signed into law, credible individuals were providing Congress information alleging that the U.S. government has recovered extraterrestrial technology. I'm not claiming that the information provided to Congress or to Arrow proves that Earth has been visited by extraterrestrials. The media is doing the public a great disservice by ignoring the UFO, the UAP issue, because a sudden shocking revelation runs the risk of being far more disruptive and disturbing than information gradually processed and absorbed. What have I been saying from December of 2017? That this is a deliberate rolling out of the so-called extraterrestrial presence. Most of the churches won't even touch the subject. I'm not making this up. It's no longer what L.A. Marzulli thinks or says or writes about. It's here. It's in your face. You need to give this report to your pastor. You need to wake up the people that you love. You need to show them our 4 films. My gosh, what are you waiting for? Once again, we're the only Christian ministry, the only one that has 4 films on the UFO phenomenon. And number 5 on crop circles will be released either the end of January or early February. Let's move on. Senator Gillibrand, a leading sponsor of this legislation, when asked whether she would support revealing the existence of alien technology if the whistleblower process confirms these sensational allegations, without missing a beat, she replied, "Of course, why not?" least we have somebody who's willing to release it. Some legislators, like Senator Gillibrand and others, believe that the American people have a right to know about the so-called extraterrestrial threat, or just the presence of the so-called extraterrestrial. If the media is guilty of a sin of omission when it comes to reporting of the unprecedented bipartisan UFO, UAP legislation that was just signed into law, they are guilty of the sin of commission when it comes to misleading reporting regarding UFO activity detected by the DoD and the IC, intelligence community. Moreover, in some cases, the ET hypothesis seems the best or only viable explanation of the Nimitz case, of course, which left no doubt in the minds of some of the Navy pilots and their radar operations. So Chris Mellon signs off. Merry Christmas with special thanks and appreciation to the members of Congress and their staffs who have put national security and science ahead of stigma and ignorance. Folks, I've said this before and I'll reiterate it here, that back in '47 with the Roswell crash, when you look at the headlines, and I don't have the paper here, it's back in California, but Army discovers, retrieves UFO, retrieves disc, and the switchboard in Roswell, New Mexico was totally lit up because of that. 24 hours later, Jim Raimi redacts a thing, the cover story of a weather balloon. There was a film, and I won't negate the people who did it because they did their best with the information that they had. Unfortunately, it was wrong, in my opinion, and they did a great disservice to the Christian community, once again, in my opinion, by stating that Roswell was a weather balloon. Roswell was not a weather balloon. How many times does it have to be debunked? If it was just a weather balloon, as we told in our second UFO film, when I sat down with Francisco Carrera, head of Exopolitics Portugal, and Preston Dennett, both of these guys are lifelong UFO researchers like myself, and I sit down with these guys and I ask them, what about Roswell? They just start laughing. If it was just a weather balloon, why every 5 or 10 years does the Army or the Air Force or whatever, the government, have to put out a new book debunking Roswell as a weather balloon? It wasn't a weather balloon. When I sat down with Dr. Jesse Marcel Jr., he stated on the record, and I read that report in one of our UFO films, I read that. And I asked Marcel, what did you see? His father brought home wreckage from the craft and put it out and arrayed it on the kitchen table, woke his wife up and his son, Jesse Marcel Jr., at 2 in the morning. I'm not making this stuff up, folks. I'm not making this stuff up. It's real, it's burgeoning, it's not going away. So what do we do with all this? Check out number 4 in our UFO film series, Exposing the Dragon's Dark Secrets. That's what we do. And frankly, the dragon is pushing back. Our family has been absolutely under attack now for weeks. We covered your prayers. Greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. My hand is on the plow. I'm not shrinking back or shirking from what the Lord has given me to do. The next film will be released, God willing, at the end of January or early February. It is on crop circles, and we call it Convergence. We're also filming number 6, which will be on the cattle mutilations. If you have a cattle mutilation story with pictures, please email me. Cattle mutilation story with pictures of video, please email me at la@lamarzulli.net or, just la@lamarzulli.net. Please email me and I'll get back to you. Anyway, folks, I'll be in California tomorrow with questions for LA. If you've got a question, questions at lamarzulli.net, questions at lamarzulli.net. Be patient. Our producer, John Adam, will get back to you. And with that also, if you have a supernatural confrontation you'd like to come on the record, please email me, supernatural@lamarzulli.net, supernatural@lamarzulli.net. UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. Please consider buying all 4 DVDs in the pack. There is so much information. You want to sit your family members down, and instead of trying to tell it yourself, run all 4 videos back to back. Their minds will be blown. Just like I edited all 4 films, the main editor on them, and my mind was blown, especially number 4. That's all the time I have for. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow with questions for LA.
Something very dark and disturbing is happening. It is a global phenomenon that knows no boundaries and adheres to no cultural mores. And the ones who are engaged in this nefarious activity do so with impunity. People are being taken against their will, in the cover of darkness, in the dead of night. They are subjected to bizarre examinations that are often sexual in nature. These people are terrified, violated, confused, and with no place to turn to, as who would believe them? This is their story.